As the world leaders meet at the UN General Assembly for the first ever UN high-level summit on United to End Tuberculosis is being held. The summit seeks to accelerate efforts in ending a global epidemic, killing 4,500 people daily and reaching all affected people with prevention and care. Africa 54 health correspondent Linord Moudou spoke with Teresa Kasaeva, the director of the Global TB program, and she asked her about what she expects will be the outcome of this meeting.
We need highest level commitment and actions, because TB is a disease which needs a real multi-sectoral approach. It's so-called social depending disease, and there are very strong linkages with the other sustainable development goals and with the such problems as poverty, malnutrition, insufficient living conditions, and without tackling these problems and targets, the problem of TB will not be successfully solved in time.
Yes. So let's talk about the TB itself and on the medical aspect of treating the disease. What seems to be the biggest burden in containing TB, in the fight against TB? Would you say it's the combination of HIV and TB? Is it drug resistance? Is it the lack of innovation in treatment, prevention? Where is the biggest burden as of now?
All what you mentioned, absolutely right, is taking place. And the burden of TB, the face of modern TB, is now more dangerous than it was 100 years ago. Now the crisis of MDR-TB and the successful treatment only half of the patient is a big challenge. And the access to the treatment, only one of each 4 patients with MDR-TB, according to the global statistics, has access to the treatment. And the treatment is successful only for half of them. And why we're facing with such situation? Again, not simple answer, because of chronically underfunding of TB programs, because very few investments and donor support for the research activities in TB. We have a gap in financing in research up to $1.3 billion US annually, and we have just 2 new drugs for last 50 years, modern drugs for treatment and resistant form of tuberculosis.
What are some of the, talk to us about some of the reasons why we see drug resistance TB, and why are there different types?
If we are talking about drug-resistant TB, we should mention about the global problem of antimicrobial resistance. Yes. You know that it's really growing threat and it's really crisis, and the huge proportion of MDR-TB, XDR-TB, and in general resistant TB cases is within this AMR agenda. The reasons of developing and growing these problems, there are different reasons, and of course one of these reasons is improper use of the antibiotics and antimicrobial drugs under control use, and there we are analyzing who are the main contributors, as we may say so, in this problem. Of course, absence of the control on the highest level and responsibility for the control of the procurement, or the drug procurement in countries, is one of the problems. Another problem is the private sector. I mean, private sector providers of the care, not only TB care, but care in general.
Teresa Kasaeva, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
That was Africa 54 health correspondent Linord Moudou speaking with Teresa Kasaeva, director of the Global TB program with the World Health Organization.